Okay, I'm here with Adiola, and it's Friday afternoon, and we're ready for this 12th Psalm, and I'm going to have Adiola read that, and then we'll just kind of go through it verse by verse. Good to have you with us again, Adiola. Hope you're having a blessed day so far.
Yes, it is. So you want to start?
Yes.
And for the listeners, I give praise before starting. Psalm 12. Help, Lord, for the godly man, Jesus, for the faithful still from among the children of men. Taking vanity, everyone with his neighbor, with flattering lips and with a double heart. The Lord shall cut off all flattering lips and the tongue that speaketh proud things. Who hath said the heart of me prevail, but lips are holy. Who is Lord over us? For the oppression of the poor, for the sighing of the needy. Now I will arise, saith the Lord. Now will I arise, saith the Lord. I will set in his safety from he that puffeth at him. The words of the Lord are pure words, as silver tried in a furnace of earth, purified of time. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord, thou shalt preserve them from the generation forever. The wicked walk on every side, when the vilest men are exalted.
Wow,
All that rings true. That rings true today. I'm just thinking of a couple politicians right now.
It rings very true to today, and also it rings true in the past. This morning I was reflecting, which as I get older, I tend to find myself reflecting a lot more. Maybe that's just a common thing as people get older, but I think this kind of fits with this psalm. I'm going to read this. This is called Memories. I wrote this morning. We all have memories of our childhood. Some are precious and some are bad. Some of our memories are very sad and some of our memories make us very glad. What about in the early mornings, or maybe those times late at night, when some of our memories tend to cut us like a knife? What about the time when you receive bad news about someone who died unexpectedly and went to an early grave? What about the time someone told you they loved you and you might have had a hard time believing what they were saying was true? Memories are just a shadow of days gone by. We're now living in the present. Time really seems to fly. In eternity, we'll only remember the good things, the days gone by. So as I was looking at this psalm, I was thinking, it's talking here about these people that, especially in verse 2, they speak vanity, everyone with his neighbor. Double heart do they speak. The Lord shall cut off flattering lips. How many times, Adiola, I know you've had this happen where you feel like somebody was just trying to give you a snow job just to get your approval, And I also think a lot about people who are underprivileged, the poor people out there that are struggling. I got a call this week, and it was really it kind of tore at my heartstrings. It's one of my really good renters. It's been a really good renter, and he sent me a text and said, I'm really having a very tough time. He said, I never ever dreamed I would have to go through what I'm going through right now. And he did not go into a lot of detail, but he just told me, I'm going to have to move. I can't afford to pay rent anymore. And he had his power shut off. And, he's got a real good history of paying. And so I told him, he said, can you give me some time to get my stuff out? And I told him, I said, his name is John. I said, John, you just do what you have to do. I understand. I've been through it myself at times. And I know, Adiel, I know you have.
Sure.
And so when we see people that are going through these difficulties, we can't just turn them off. We got to be able to try to encourage them and let them know that this dark period they're going through is going to pass.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, with me, when it comes to dealing with the poor and poverty, it's a double-edged I've come to realize it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, we shouldn't oppress the poor at all. We shouldn't oppress the poor, or anybody, but especially the poor.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm convinced that poverty is a good thing. The poverty is a good thing if it's understood in the proper context. At the same time, and so, and I realized there are some cases that individuals are literally trying that they can, but due to circumstances or upbringing, that's where they're stuck at, and they can't do nothing about it. So in those cases where, if they're legitimately doing the best they can with what they have, in a real legitimate case, you know what? I don't have a problem with that. Beyond those legitimate cases, sometimes poverty is a perspective thing that one needs to wake somebody up to say, look, because it was all mismanagement, God's really trying to wake you up to look at your character. So it is a double-edged sword, but don't oppress anybody.
Right, and I do agree with you that there are very legitimate situations where people have to go through things for a lot of reasons. It might be health, and that's the situation with this person. He's had several people that he's been trying to care for in his life, family members that have been very sick. But anyway,
like I said, I'm not arguing with those.
Right, yeah, that's right.
I know the legitimate case on the West Coast in Alberta right now. Like, it's a sort of legitimate case. Spoke to this morning, so yeah, I get it. You know what? I keep our prayers up for it. It's like this. The flip side, if you get yourself there, like for myself, I fully admit I was almost homeless for 6 months. In the literal sense, almost homeless for 6 months. That really woke me up, and I never want to be in that situation myself again. And you have $300 to be the literal difference of me sitting on the street or keep roof over my head. And what I mean by that, by like Canada, like here, particularly Ontario works $650 a month. That's it to survive. You cannot rent a room for $500 a month, and a bus pass is $100 a month, and you have $50 to live on. And in my case, my entire check went directly to my landlord, and I had to pay for my cell phone, pay-as-you-go, internet, and food, which equated to $300 a month. And they barely gave me anything. They barely gave me anything for bus fare. They barely did anything give me 10 trips. So what were we supposed to do? So I had to like walk in the middle of winter time, just sell a bunch of stuff, and that had to pay for everything. And get anything above $200 is a 50% cutback. Anything above that. So basically the welfare office worker knew I was trying. So she sort of like looked past it. So it was very fortunate God who like had a person there to sit there and say, yeah, he's trying, yeah, we can make it occasionally beyond that, and have a couple of enforced. Basically, like you say, it's a notice to say, well, you make, okay, your rent's like this, and I'm like, got to a point where Velvet fixed me in and said, I go, just pray. Just pray every day. Just pray every single day. That's all. It was nothing but prayer. It was nothing but prayer. And and this is one of the reasons why I still pick up your bottom today. I got creative. So in this verse, for the oppression of the poor and the sighting of the needy, now this is verse 5 of Psalm 12. I will rise, says the Lord. I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at him. Being poor, they didn't have a person say, oh, it's just get a job or just do this. Oh, okay. All right, no problem. So I completely, I get that other side of it. I get that other side of the point.
Yeah, and then you see these people that are on the other side, where they are so cocky and arrogant and think that they have achieved success in life, and they've done very well, thank you very much, and they want everybody to know how much success they have arrived at by their own abilities. We see that in verse 2. They speak vanity, and it says, the Lord shall cut off all flattering lips and the tongue that speak proud things. Sometimes people will ask me how my business is going. And I have to be honest with them and tell them it's really not my business. It's like you said many, many times regarding your business. I could have absolutely no success or anything apart from God's grace and His help. And once you come to that realization, and like you said, I have been in a situation where I have utterly been, I don't know how to describe it, but I have been up against a brick wall.
Yeah.
Certain things, and then, man, it's just like, I don't know if this has been your experience, but my experience is every time that I've tried to take things in my own hands and try to do it, work all these hours, try to plan everything out and everything, I've just literally faltered. And then when I just sat back and said, wait a minute, just let the Lord, God is going to not let the Lord, but God is going to guide me.
Yeah.
He's going to show me what to do, and if I fail, I fail. And when I have that attitude, it seems like things turn around.
Yeah.
You know?
And that was, I totally agree with you on that. Absolutely agree. There are times where, I'll give you an example. Years ago, when the particular support group I go to on a weekly basis, there was a time where this I was selling on eBay. There was a time where I was still trying to control everything. It's like nothing I was doing was working. Like I was trying to control everything. And this, like when I say this, I don't celebrate Christmas or advocate Christmas at all. So don't confuse this with some good tidings scene. But it just happened to work out at that time. It just happened to like coincide with that time. And I said, so what I decided to myself, I said, Adiola, obviously at this point, despite everything, it has been a physical failure. I said, Lord, you're in control. That's it. And it was like, it just happened to coincide with that season. It just happened to coincide. And the Lord, you're in control. I don't know what to do. I tried to control it so much that I lose all control. And all of a sudden, and this was literally a month before, and it was literally a month I was almost homeless. Because like kind of, it was just during, it was that time. All of a sudden, I had a guy, so one of the guys says, I won't say his name, he says, look, do you have any money for my parents? Because I just don't have it. It said, just so happened, he had a jar at the boat, and the height's about, it was about, say, 10 inches in height, circular, like a car or whatever. It was full of change. And what he told me was, for whatever reason, he was waiting for somebody who was at ease, who started throwing change in there every time his first change. He was throwing in there for about, I thought that was almost a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was almost a year. So when I asked him, he said, yeah. So he gave it to me, and it was $30. I'm like, okay. It's like God was, literally, it's like God was like waiting for me to ask. God had to ordain this. He was waiting for me to be ready. He was planning this, and the chain was literally right there in the guy's back of the vehicle that gave it to me. Because, it was his chain, so it wasn't affecting his personal finance.
Right.
And it was just fair chain, so this, he was using it as a way to look, here, take it. Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, I was so angry where the elderly lady, like before she had moved to the old age home, now she's in the hospital with Alzheimer's. I literally started seeing food literally on my doorstep. And I was like, who the hell, like, I literally started listening. And what she had told me was, God was saying was like, it was kind of odd that an elderly lady who had died, all of a sudden, God put her in my life to start putting, like this, and not how it was like carpet cleaning. Help me do the carpet cleaning later on. And then from there, walking in, as I was always being homeless, I'm like, and I tell you, it was not easy. It was literally not easy going through this experience. But yet, that's when I started volunteering. So when I started going to these mental health places, started volunteering, and then God used this to say, you know what, go here, food, emergency, because it was a point in my life where I just had to get rid of it. It's still there, it still pops up occasionally, which is not to contend with, but it was a real pride-sucking moment. It was 6 months, basically half a year. It was the most pride-sucking moment I ever had in my entire life, going through this. And I got to a point where clothing, then I started volunteering at the church, at the Anglican church here, downtown. And that's why I got my food here, because I figured, well, we get back. That's all food, that's I got the food, and then then I'm getting a bunch because I did have no money to buy clothing. But through that, God provided clothing that actually fit. Well, actually needed to the point where I got this much, so I had to start giving it away. And then from there, then I was able to, like, it was just all of the gifts that, as I was going through this experience, God had to lead me this way, and begin to volunteer, and then begin to be able to look at it. It was a very faithful experience to a point where I was able to get back, and then at the same time paying for school, out of pocket, while on ODSP, and having a student loan over my head, which I've been paying that for almost 10 years through my taxes. And secondly, to graduate debt free, and as well as and then just started my business. And this is the part where, with Larry, like mentioned, is that I was so in control that the more I let go, and just all what I had to say to me, it's amazing how I literally have to look at my apartment and have to remind myself and say, wow, God provided everything. Some cases I had to go buy it, some cases I had to go work for it, and some cases I simply fell in my lap. Taking the look that God knew I was thinking about it. Even this air conditioner that I got, brand new, was $400. Brand new. 3 or 4 years ago, someone threw it away downstairs. I was about to throw it away because the food was missing, but then I found the food downstairs. Keeps our apartment cool. I mean, it's like every little thing that got to me, it's almost as if the more we try to control, the less we have. Versus the other way around. Now I'm sitting there in this apartment thinking about everybody's own. People are telling me, I know it's in your apartment. Cost of living is too cheap, but I'm sitting there. Really? Yeah. And now what I hear people complaining about their vehicles. I hear a lot of people complaining about the cost of living, the size of the house you're living in. The cost of housing is too expensive there. And I sit back, cost of gas, and I'm first thing I think about is like, wow, why did I live in this house to begin with? Like, I went with my younger brother. My younger brother went up for coffee last week. Every house is being sold. Some of these brand new houses being built and sold are at least $1 million. Now I'm sitting here. Why? So it's like I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I mean, it's pretty wonderful to live there, but yet I'm sitting here, all I have to do is cut a check and just pay my rent, and that's it. And everything's taken care of. So I got to pay my rent, take care of my daily living expenses. Now I'm sitting here, you know what? Mountain of debt. Them complaining why things get expensive. Sorry, you chose to buy a house that's that expensive.
Well, I think, that kind of goes back to this 7th verse here where it says, thou shalt keep them, O Lord. Thou shalt preserve them from the generation forever. In other words, I think God has his protecting hand over his people. And then conversely, the next verse talks about the other side. It says, the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. Have you ever,
I see this politically. I see this big time locally.
Yeah.
Holy cow! I'm sitting there I sit back. Gosh, Jerry, you got a prime example. In this country, yes, Rome control everything. There's a little caveat. Yes, God's in control, but yet Satan uses means Rome to control everything. I'm not doubting that fact.
Right.
Here in this country, it's legal to have medically assisted suicide. Actually legal.
Wow.
Check online yourself. Anybody who's listening to this, check online yourself. It's actually legal. Now, Fox News, there was a woman who got legally assisted suicide because she couldn't find affordable housing.
Wow.
Just check on Fox. If I'm wrong, let me know. But
no. I know you're right, because I saw here a while back a gentleman who was wanting. He had been diagnosed with full-blown Alzheimer's, and he couldn't handle it, and so he asked his wife to move to Canada, because he lived in the United States. Move to Canada, and she assisted him in assisted suicide in Canada. And so she helped him do that.
Yeah. Like, and I sit back and like what? Like, what country? I mean, this is the part that stops. What country would allow people? Because I mean, I guess suicide is bad, but to sit there and say, you know what? We'll get a doctor's note and we'll actually allow you to do it.
Right.
Like,
it's very similar to abortion, legalizing abortion. And now they've overturned Roe versus Wade in this country, and you got all these people going absolutely crazy. And when you were alluding to how these people are exalted, I agree with you. I mean, there's certain people. There's no reason to mention names.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mention names, but it's so
obvious.
It's obvious. Yeah, you're correct. But the thing is, with the abortion, it's defense of child.
Yeah.
I would tweet people are making because they want to have the child. In this case, you're willingly, seriously, because life is so bad, you're willing to move to another country as a grown adult to kill yourself. That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have it here. Excuse me. I am not underscoring that Alzheimer's is not easy. We're in here, like, I will not underscore the transit situation. But to make a conscious choice, I'm like, that's pretty bad. Even in cases like today, guys sent this video. Another friend of mine, he said, a woman, this was on Fox News, a woman who couldn't find affordable housing, I don't know how she got the form to kill herself, and I'm like, there's a 10-year waiting list for affordable housing. A lot of people don't kill themselves for that. Because they're that desperate. I shook my head. Yes, to get the 5 minutes, okay, you're promoting medical suicide. Yeah, that's what it is. Medical suicide. And I sit back and just look, and I'm like, and he has power to, and he had to, I had to admit, he was not prime minister. I think he wasn't prime minister when this thing was legislated. It was a previous one. So gotta have to double check if he was either MP or prime minister when it was legislated. Wow. But if he wasn't, he had the power to stop it. To repudiate themselves, like, well, what? It is wrong. It's very, like, holy cow. I get things are tragic, but, well, what do you expect me to do? Will we go underground? No. Don't make illegal people do this. Period. That's all it's saying. But, hey, I'm not,
Well, and I think, that's exactly what this psalm is talking about. In other words, again, we have the dichotomy. We have, on the one side, people that are into what I call self-redemption and self-exaltation of the creature. And then on the other side, you have those that are depending upon God for the next breath, And so I got a email today from a Primitive Baptist minister, and, I find it really interesting. And Keith, if you hear this, I appreciate the correspondence, but Keith is a pastor, and he's a Primitive Baptist minister, and a lot of Primitive Baptists are what I call conditionalists. They want to be cooperative agents with God. And Keith has been listening to some of my messages, and he goes, Larry, I agree totally with what you're saying regarding the Bible. And he sent me this thing. I'm going to read it because he just sent it. I just got it. It's right now. So he says the eternal predestination of God is the stem and cause of all things. Our holy God works all things after the counsel of his own will, not after the will of puny man. The Lord barks, the dog hops, the frog flies, the bird. The Lord performs all things for us. Man cannot alter the eternal counsel of the Lord God. And I'm thinking, wow, that is really refreshing to hear from a Primitive Baptist minister. You know, I was excommunicated from a Primitive Baptist church for some of the positions I held. And so I think this psalm resonates really strongly, and I look forward to next time as we get into Psalm 13. Do you have any final remarks before we check out today?
No. It's pretty well self-explanatory because this really fits in what we're seeing today. And
right.
It reminds me, with this particular thing, I just happened to see this little segment of Fox News sent to me, and I sat back and this really fitted in today.
Right.
Even locally, politically, there are days I feel bad. I have to admit, there are days I want to walk up to these leaders and just take the steel-toe boot, and take a bat and just say, look, man, enough's enough.
Right.
But the thought's there.
Yeah.
The thought is there. Like, the thought's there, and at the same time I have to think about it, I'm like, okay, I'll make things worse, and I can't do it, so I have to leave it alone. I'm taking this mode in. So I'm being frank with this because I'm being frankly honest, because there are days where it's like, guys, it can't get any worse than this, and all of a sudden it gets worse.
Exactly.
So I have to prevent it.
Exactly. I agree with you, and I think this. I got an email from a person today. I don't know where he got his information. He seems to get a lot of credible information, a lot of good intel, but he sent me an email and said that he had gotten the word today that the United States and the world is out of diesel. And there are trucks on the East Coast in the United States right now that are parked along beside the road because they can't get diesel. They can't deliver the products in the trucks, and so
I would have to, I would have to take with a grain of salt because I have to look at it myself. I mean, if that's the case, if they're out of diesel, why are ships still crossing the sea?
Right.
And number two, yes, there are a lot of ships that park, but why they're still flying for it, and why their trains still crossing?
I don't know. All I know is that this is the intel that has come to me today, and I don't know. I haven't been able to validate it one way or the other. But the only reason I bring that up is that in reality, and I know people don't like to hear this, but in reality, Biden is not in control of the oil and the gasoline. God is in control of the oil and the gasoline. And the flow of it, even though wrong decisions have been made politically, yes, and I agree with you. I mean, it's a little different way of saying it, taking a ball bat, but I get in the flesh. I look at some of the decisions that some of these people are making that are just asinine.
No, it makes no sense, but then I have to remember, you know what, ultimately God's in control.
That's right.
And sometimes, I'm kind of reminded of, it's like, how Pharaoh, God had to harden the heart of the Pharaoh for people to see how bad the Pharaoh is. I'm almost seeing the same thing.
Well, for an example, like today, here's a real live example. As you know, I have rental property, and I have used a lot of liquid foam over the years. Like it comes in a can for insulating.
Yeah.
And I used to pay for liquid foam $2.75 a can. Okay. Today I went and picked up a can. It's $8. That same can.
The one can.
One can, $8 for liquid foam now, and I used to pay $2. That's 3 times, 300% increase.
Wow.
Okay, that's just one example. And so when you see this, you say, "This is," and I hesitate to use this word because it's a new age term, but this is not sustainable. If we keep going in the same rate that we're going, this is not sustainable. People cannot afford $6 a gallon gasoline. They can't afford it. And so, anyway,
I agree with you. And this is, again, this is why I point back to Egypt, where God is really hardening the hearts of these individuals to know that what these guys are like. Because I'm seeing here a lot of these guys protesting here with it. So they're really seeing the guys with these sort of bits, like we just sort of just been alive.
Right.
So I'm really seeing a sort of a separation of sins, like in this. And so with that, this is why I want to buy a piece of property or everything. It's so fair. It's just right now I just.
Well, the bottom line is that the foundation of God standeth sure. The Lord knows who are His, and you know, I'm going to go ahead and now for our viewers, this will be posted a little bit later this afternoon on our platforms, and also I want to remind our viewers that we do have a fellowship call on Wednesday nights, and if any of you have an interest in fellowshipping with other believers, if you will send me an email, and you can go to larrywphillips.com and go to the contact and say send me a link, and I'll send you a link to our Wednesday night fellowship if you have an interest in that. You know.
Yep, and this is where I'm at. I do enjoy the Wednesday night fellowship call.
Yeah.
So
okay, hold on a second. I'm gonna